We are 10 weeks into the 2025 NFL season, and with that, I feel like it's perfect timing to get started with 2026, the draft cycle. This is an exciting start. I am excited to keep on looking into these prospects. Obviously, this is the first mock draft we're going to be doing of many. I think we did about I think we tried to aim for about 10 last year. This year, we're going to keep on trying to do that. As the season still goes on, we'll do every 1 to 2 weeks. Off season, we'll do every major event. So, the Senior Bowl, the Pro Days, when they're mostly done, or like the half of it, the Combine, stuff like that, and around draft time as well. But this is my favorite time of the year is November. Teams are starting to fully show their identities. Titans 1-8. You got a ton of struggles. The Saints just got a win, but they're 2-8. A ton of struggles. A lot of teams showing what they truly do need at that halfway point in the year. You see it a little earlier though. But with that being said, mock draft 1.0. We're gonna get this thing started right now. And so, what you might be hearing, you might hear some paper on the side. I've got myself my notes here of the players in a row that I want to be able to talk about to you guys today. And usually my first mock draft, I don't do trades. I usually just keep it strict, keep it simple. Whoever's one picks one, whoever's two picks two, stuff like that. This year it's different though. The Titans with the number one pick currently, I don't think they're gonna keep that. I think if they stay at number one, they're going to trade down. It only makes sense for them to do so. And so we're going to trade down with the New York Jets. And I think the New York Jets are one of those three teams that very well would benefit the most getting that number one overall pick, especially because, Justin Fields, without that 42-yard screen pass touchdown this last week against the Browns, he's 5 for 10 for 12 yards and an interception. He has just not been the answer at QB for New York. So we're going to trade up. I think New York's going to find a way to keep that 32 pick. There might be a couple other picks, but I think they're going to want to keep 32 this year because I think there is some players at the back end of this first round that can help them. They'll trade Indy's pick next year. And I think Tennessee, will be like, okay, let's do it. Maybe they try and trade for Dallas's pick next year, or Green Bay's pick is likely going to be Dallas's pick next year for the Jets, with the Quinnen Williams trade. But we're going to send this trade through, and New York is going to be the first team on the clock. And so going number one overall here to New York to start this mock draft off, we're going to go with Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, quarterback. Just transferred from Cal. He's been fantastic for Indiana. They're undefeated, the number 2 team in the country. And my thing is, I think he has the most pro tools. Maybe not the most pro-ready right now, but he has the most tools to be the best pro-style quarterback. He's a West Coast-style guy, in my opinion. I've got here, he's got very great precision. He has precision over power. But he's shown some signs of being able to panic. He's shown some signs to be able to come back from that. You see the last drive against Penn State where he had a beautiful 87-yard execution just to go down the field and keep his team undefeated. But beforehand, he looked a little panicky at times and didn't look very great in that Penn State game. And something I do notice is he's not willing to force throws, which is a benefit but also a negative. He doesn't feel like he needs to extend plays to try and keep things going. But with that, he's willing to take a sack instead of making a bad decision, which I do enjoy out of Fernando Mendoza. As I said, the Jets just need a solution at quarterback. They've got a pretty good O-line there in New York, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, actually. But the quarterback position is a must-need. And then they can also target wide receiver later in this draft. They just have to target that first. So Fernando Mendoza first overall. Now at number 2 to the Saints, a lot of people think the Saints will go quarterback. I am a Saints fan. I would think a quarterback would be beneficial. Tyler Shuck looked good against the Panthers, looked really terrible against the Rams. So I think you have to take his 2 performances with a grain of salt and let him continue out on the year. I love Spencer Rattler. I wish he could be the guy, but just doesn't look like they're going to be able to go with him in the future. But I'm going to stay away from quarterback when it comes to the Saints. I'm going to go with Reuben Bain Jr., edge rusher out of Miami. And the reason I'm going to go with Reuben Bain Jr., now, let me tell you, I watched this guy's film last week. I watched a ton of it. I just sat down, watched for about 30 minutes, and the entire time I was just saying, wow. Just wow. This guy is unbelievable. He's an absolute monster at Miami. He is unbelievable in the pass rush. You put him in the 9 tech, you can put him as far as the 3, and he's going to just be a dominant player. And I think he's got the 3-down capabilities already. I think he is honestly up there with Abdul Carter for the edge rushing prospects in the past couple of years. And his blow-by ability, being able to use his bend to wrap around offensive tackles in the pass rush is insane, and I love his ability to engage blockers and catch them off guard. He shoots his hands really fast, and that's something you want to see out of a guy who can be a great pass rusher, but you also want the rush defense, and that's exactly what Ruben Bain does. He has great pursuit on the line. He is a perfect prospect for a Saints team that is 31st in pass rush win rate, needs edge rushing help, especially with Cameron Jordan nearing retirement. Now, number 3 to the New York Giants. This is another team I could see trading down. However, we're not going to trade down here for the Giants. We're going to go with wide receiver Jordan Tyson. Now, I think adding a wide receiver to this team would be awesome to see. The offensive line definitely is a question, but Jordan Tyson is an unbelievable wide receiver. Pairing him with Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatabo once he comes back from injury, and Jackson Dart would be an awesome offense to watch. That is a star-studded offense, and it would keep defenses on their toes. I mean, you got to fully rely on your pass rush. The Giants need to find a way to fix their offensive line a little bit. But if you fix that offensive line a little bit, you get Jordan Tyson in the first round. You get a guy who's giving you first down reliability. Malik Neighbors is a playmaker. As I said, Cam Scatabo is a playmaker. Dart's a playmaker. Jordan Tyson is a playmaker. He is a great guy to run over the intermediate areas, the 15, 20 yards. He is going to find his way to get open. And he just wins a lot in those situations. And he is a reliable wide receiver. He has been my favorite wide receiver to watch. Him and Carnell Tate have been awesome to watch. And I think putting him in New York makes that team insane on offense if you can fix up that offensive line problems. Because every young player on that team is very promising. Yet another one in Jordan Tyson. That makes that offense very scary. And I like their defense. So this could be a very interesting team in 2026 with the acquisition of Jordan Tyson. Now, at 4th overall to the Cleveland Browns, we're going to go to quarterback. Yes, they drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders. Yes, they haven't given Shadur Sanders a shot at the starting job. Dylan Gabriel, 7 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, but a 58% completion percentage. I don't like either of them, to be honest. I think if Shadur shows promise, I was a kind of a Shadur guy, I guess you could say, last year. I thought he was going to be a late first rounder. Being a Pittsburgh Steeler, I had them trading back into the first round for him. But I think when you look at some of the guys in the draft right now, I think they're definitely an upgrade from what the Browns currently have. So we're going to go with Alabama's Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson, I think, is the most pro-ready right now. I think he's the guy you put him in to the NFL, and he's going to be able to run an offense. He's going to be able to run an offense at an efficient level, and I think that's what you see out of him. You got a team who has some playmakers in Quinshon Judkins, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Harold Fannin Jr., who if you watched him at Bowling Green, you would have known he was going to have a pretty impressive rookie season. But my thing with Ty Simpson is you look at his pre-snaps, you look at his post-snap, his football IQ is great. He's a great football IQ. He's the last Saban product quarterback at Alabama, and that is something I really like. He's very consistent. He has a very high floor, and that 21 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio speaks for itself. That's why Ty Simpson goes number 4 overall. Now at number 5 overall to the Tennessee Titans, this is an interesting spot. I think the O-line is definitely beneficial. It's scary, to say the least, with how dangerous Cam Ward, how much danger he feels back there. He doesn't have any time, and you think, oh, maybe I go Spencer Fano here. I'm not. I'm going to go Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Arvell Reese is, I think, my second favorite prospect in this draft class, second or third. Obviously, the 3 of them are on one of my 3 highest prospects, in my opinion, in Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, and Arvell Reese. I love Arvell Reese's ability to rush the passer, be a box linebacker, an off-ball linebacker, and cover. I look at him and I say that's a better Jalen Walker. I think him and Jalen Walker are very comparable. I loved Jalen Walker going into last draft. I also love Arvell Reese. I think Jalen Walker's a little bit better of a pass rusher, but I think Arvell Reese has got that versatility to be off-ball more than Jalen Walker does. And so he's going to translate very well into the NFL. And I think that's a guy that if you have him available at pick number 5, Tennessee, you cannot pass up on a guy like that. Yes, you do need offensive line, but there are so many teams that have proven you pick that best player available right there. He's gonna perform for you. Nobody for a long time, not for a long time, but for a good amount of time, nobody expected Abdul Carter to go to the Giants because they had Kayvon Thibodeaux, they had Brian Burns. Why draft another edge rusher? Well, he's that good. Abdul Carter is that good of a prospect. Kayvon Thibodeaux, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns can be a great three-person kind of edge rushing group. So, and it's worked out, I think. I would say it's worked out for him. That's a very good rush group. I mean, Brian Burns leading the league in sacks, I'm pretty sure. But we'll go to number 6 with the Raiders. And so the Raiders have one gigantic problem. I think they've got a lot of problems where there's really only 2 positions you can't draft here, and it's tight end and running back because you've got Brock Bowers and you've got Ashton Genty. Those positions are fine, but I think quarterback's that big question. We're going to go Dante Moore. I'm not completely sure if he's going to come out for this draft. I think it wouldn't be surprising if he stays in college. If he does stay in college, I think Caleb Downs is the pick here, maybe Peter Woods for the Raiders. But Dante Moore, Geno Smith is terrible. He's awful. You sign him for 3 years, so you're stuck with him for 3 years unless you want to take that dead cap. But Dante Moore has an excellent deep ball. His short game is a little questionable. It kind of scares me, but he has an excellent deep ball. He has great arm strength. He has a great release speed, I think. And I think those are all things that could really benefit a Raiders team. He kind of reminds me, his passing-wise, he reminds me of a much better Jalen Milroe. Milroe had a great deep ball, but was very inaccurate in the short game. And I think Dante Moore has a very great deep ball, and his short game is inconsistent at times. Not as much as to the Jalen Milroe level, where he needs a lot more development in the passing game. Dante Moore has the arm capabilities to become a good starter in this league. It's just his size and his speed is a little down from the Jalen Milroe comparison that I'm talking about. So I like Dante Moore here at 6 to the Raiders. That quarterback spot is a big need, so we're going to go with him there. Now, number 7 to the Dolphins. I think this Dolphins team, you do need a couple of things. Tua still keeps on fighting his way to prove that he deserves this starting spot and he needs to stay on this team. I think you go Caleb Downs here. I think at pick number 7, it's almost impossible to not pick up the best player, arguably the best player in this draft. I have down on here, he is a instant defensive rookie of the year candidate. He is my favorite for defensive rookie of the year out of the draft. He is a franchise cornerstone safety, and he is a guy who is very, very smart. He is a very, very smart player, and he plays with his instincts, and that is what you love to see out of a guy in the secondary like Caleb Downs. His versatility, he can play anywhere. That is, in my opinion, one of the most perfect safety prospects we have seen in Caleb Downs. And Miami gets themselves a good one in their secondary. So now number 8 to Washington. Now Washington, I think, needs to address the corner room or the edge rushing room. Lattimore's getting older. He just got hurt. He's kind of gone down in production. But that edge rushing room also needs help. So I think they're going to go with edge rushing, and I'm going to go Keldrick Falk from Auburn. I like Keldrick Falk as my I think I have him as my second pure edge rusher. Yes, Ruben Bain and then Keldrick Falk. A lot of people do have TJ Parker like PFF does, but I have Keldrick Falk as my second best edge rusher in this class. I think he is a very impactful guy on all 3 downs. He is not just a pass rush guy or a run stopper. He can do both, and that's amazing to see from a top 10 pick right in Keldrick Falk. He is not one-dimensional at all, as I just said. He's got a great floor. He's proficient from anywhere from the 9 tech, being super wide out. You can also move him in towards that 5 area, that 5-4. Yeah, he's got the ability to move on the line, and that is something that is very beneficial from a guy in a team that needs an edge rusher. Having a guy that can play the pass and play the run and play all 3 downs. Keldrick Falk is that guy. And I think he's going to transition very well to where he has one of the higher floors out of all the edge rushers in this draft. Now for number 9 to the Bengals. They just drafted Shamar Stewart. He has not been great. Actually, he's been terrible. Let me be blunt. He's been terrible. So, edge rusher is possible here, but I think that defensive interior is just absolutely atrocious in Cincinnati. Last year, I wanted them to get Malachi Starks. I wanted them to get Jalen Walker. I wanted them to get Walter Nolan. They didn't get any of those guys. And they got Shamar Stewart, who I thought he was very prototypical. I thought he was a guy that, you take a chance on. I think it's not a bad idea. It didn't work out. It's not working out. I'm not going to, it's not working out. It didn't. He's still a rookie. He's still got time to improve and whatnot. I think it just isn't working out right now. And so I think you need to just strengthen that defensive line, and that works with the interior with Peter Woods, who is a great presence. He can work in a 4-3 and a 3-4, which is a great look for a defensive lineman. And his raw power and disruption is something that just makes him so well-rounded and is going to force double teams. And with a team with Trey Hendrickson as well, if they can get that old contract disputes figured out. Peter Woods also drawing a double team, and if they're going to have to double team Hendrickson, that might leave Hendrickson open. That might leave Peter Woods open. That might leave, if it's Shamar Stewart or a different guy on the other side next year open. That will lead to opportunities in the pass rush and filling gaps from their off-ball linebackers as well. So Peter Woods is a good pickup for Cincinnati. Now to round up the top 10, we're going to go with corner here for the Rams. Let me tell you that. The Rams corner room is Emmanuel Forbes and Kobe Durant, I think, are their top two. And I don't love it. So we're going to go with Mansour Delane from LSU. I believe he transferred from Virginia Tech. You can correct me on that if that's incorrect. But Mansour Delane's instinct and his fluidity is what I love about this guy. He thinks a lot. Let me tell you that. He does think a lot when he's on the field, which causes him sometimes to overthink and make a mistake, but he won't make mistakes twice. That's the thing that he's really good at. If he makes a mistake, he learns from it instantly, and that's something that you like to see out of a young corner is, corners are going to make mistakes. They're not going to be perfect. When they make mistakes, are they going to adjust? And Mansour Delane does just that, and his matching up ability with receivers, he's going to be able to do so. He can move around. He can be a boundary. He can be a slot. And that's something that I would love to see the Rams be able to acquire. So Mansour Delane will be number 10. And that is let me talk about this. That's a excellent job by the Rams front office to get this first round pick. Atlanta did get their two guys off the edge in the first round last year. But getting the top 10 pick currently, we'll see if it stays here. Great job by Los Angeles. Now, at 11, to the Cardinals, they've got a couple of things. Quarterback could be in the question here. I don't think at pick 11, quarterback is the answer. We're going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate, every Ohio State guy in this draft, to be honest. I love watching Ohio State play. They produce professional football players. Let's be real. Carnell Tate would be a great addition to a team that has Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. He's a very great complementary piece. You see what he's doing with Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State right now. And he's another guy that I think is great in the intermediates, a guy that you put over the middle, a great possession catcher. He's going to find his way to bring in a football and make sure that he isn't dropping passes. And putting him alongside another wide receiver from Ohio State that really helps bolster the weaponry in Arizona. And I think that is not a bad idea to address that for the Cardinals. Now, pick 12 for the Cowboys. They have a lot of problems, and PFF doesn't have this as a need, but if you have watched a Cowboys game or if you ask a Cowboys fan what do they need, they're going to tell you we need a corner. Jermod McCoy is going to be my pick here at 12. Deron Bland ain't cutting it. Diggs can't stay healthy, and Kaiir Elam is terrible. We watched him get absolutely destroyed against the Chiefs in the playoffs, and Jerry Jones went out and said, yeah, I want that guy on my team. What? And so, the edge rusher problem is a concern because they did trade away Micah Parsons, as everybody knows. They have another first-round pick in this year's draft. Next year they won't because they traded that away for Quinnen Williams. But I think that with this pick, you got a guy like Jermod McCoy still available, who is a very good zone corner. He is a guy that has a nose for the ball that's going to make plays. His anticipation is great. I think that's a player you need. He's going to be able to impact this Cowboys defense that has been absolutely really bad this year. And so Jermod McCoy is the pick for the Cowboys there. Now 13 to the Ravens. This is weird for me because in all of my mock drafts I've done, there has been a tackle that has gone so early. Not in this year's draft. Spencer Fano, the first guy off the board on the offensive line now from Utah. He could go as early as the top 5, top 10. I've got him going 13 to Baltimore here. What I say about him is he is a plug-and-play guy at tackle, and he's also a plug-and-play guy at guard. I think he doesn't just win blocks. He just dominates people. He dominates blocks. And I think a lot of people have him as honestly, a blue-chip tackle prospect. And I need to watch a little bit more on him. But I love his power. I love his technique. He has, a natural power. His arms are a little bit of concern, but it was a little bit of a concern with Will Campbell. Look what he's doing. He's been fantastic for the Patriots, so it's not a big issue to me. Spencer Fano will be a great addition to protect Lamar Jackson for the future and for the Ravens. Now at pick 14 for the Vikings, despite having two pretty decent running backs right now, we're going to go with Jeremiah Love. I think corner's in play. I think tackle might be in play still. But Jeremiah Love is such a great prospect that it's hard to pass up here. Aaron Jones is just getting older. Jordan Mason, I like Jordan Mason, but I think Jeremiah Love is, you draft him, he takes over your backfield. It's kind of like I don't want to compare Jordan Mason to Najee Harris, but it's kind of like an Amari Hampton. He's available. We're gonna take him if he's available. He makes those routine plays into those home run plays. He's able to do that effectively, and he's an unbelievably dynamic back. So that's what really puts him over the hump from Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones. And so the Vikings get themselves Jeremiah Love. Now for the Houston Texans at 15, we're going to scroll down. We're going to go Francis Mauigoa. Mauigoa from Miami, a good offensive lineman. He is an anchor of a tackle. He could move into guard. I've heard a lot about that. His run blocking is amazing because of his frame, because of his size. He's grown actually very well in his athletic ability at Miami. He's been the definition of a Mario Cristobal characteristic type of player. I've loved it. And so that being said, putting that into a team that has one of the worst offensive lines in the league, you can throw him anywhere on that Houston O-line, and he will help that team greatly. So that'll be my 15th pick there. And then to round up the first half of the first round, it will be the Panthers going with TJ Parker. Now, I've seen a lot of people actually go wide receiver for the third straight year here in Carolina, which me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I like TJ Parker as an edge rusher, maybe a little bit less than some people, but his technique is what really stands out to me. He's great at manipulating offensive linemen with head fakes, with shoulder dips. He is great with hand fighting, and he is a guy that, he could work in any scheme, but, that 4-3 might be nicer, and he also will produce the need for a double team. And so I like that a lot for a team like Carolina, who looks promising. They're 5-5 right now, so they could be a promising young team. And so TJ Parker will help bolster that defense. Now, at 17 to the Chiefs, I'm picking this because I think it's a great player and it's a great need for next year. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. Second straight year in a row that a tight end that is from the state of Idaho is going to be a first-round pick, in my opinion, which is kind of crazy to think about. Colston Loveland for the Bears, and now Kenyon Sadiq for the Chiefs here. His deep ball production is amazing. His receiving is a matchup nightmare, in my opinion, in the NFL, but his blocking is very questionable. And it sounds very familiar to another guy in Kansas City who is a great receiver, but a little bit of a questionable blocker. It's their guy right now, Travis Kelce, who I don't think is going to be in the league for very long. He might retire after this season. Maybe he retires in next season. With that, though, you give Sadiq a great mentor in Travis Kelce to build and make himself into a very good NFL tight end. And that is what I like a lot about this pick, is he fits the new age tight end, like the new age of tight ends. you give Patrick Mahomes, a guy with the receiving value like Sadiq, that is a excellent choice for Kansas City. Now at 18 to the Niners, I think it's time they finally get their long-term solution for Trent Williams. I'm going to go with Caden Proctor. I like Caden Proctor's size. He's 370, I think, is what he was. 370. He's a rare breed for that size. The way he can move at that size, he's very impressive on his feet. But he tends to sometimes get outside with his hands. He doesn't, you're told to get inside and get into that chest, but if you get outside, you can get a little handsy, and that can lead to holding calls, and that's what kind of concerns me with Caden Proctor. But he relies on power a lot, which can be a good thing, but a bad thing. So, power over technique can sometimes lose you battles against smarter defensive alignment. So, I like Caden Proctor. I think he's a good long-term choice. You can develop him into a great offensive tackle. And so he'll go to the Niners at 18 here. Now at 19 to the Browns, we went quarterback. Now we're going to go wide receiver and make that wide receiver room even better, make that offense a little bit stronger. And it's going to be Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon is another guy. I think a lot of the players in this draft, a lot of wide receivers, are a lot of those route-running intermediate guys. Mekhi Lemon is going to have a very good transition into the league. He's very good at understanding how to find the windows and open windows for his quarterbacks to find him down the field, and that is what I like. He can play in the slot. He has the ability to play outside, and he's just a very versatile wide receiver who, with a team that could use a wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy is Jerry Jeudy, but he hasn't looked like the best guy this year. Other than that, the pass catchers, Harold Fannin, a little questionable. So Mekhi Lemon is a good pickup here for the Browns. Now at pick 20 to the Steelers, we're going to go ahead and stick with wide receiver Denzel Boston from Washington. I was thinking Chris Brazzell, maybe. Boston is very reminiscent of DK Metcalf. They play very similarly. They're both big. They're going to out-muscle you. They're not going to outrun you, even though DK is very fast. Denzel Boston, really not going to outrun you. He's going to out-jump you. He's going to out-muscle you. His contested catch ability is awesome. He reminds me a little, I've said this about every tall guy. Mike Evans. Mike Evans. You got a tall wide receiver. You look at Tet, who, maybe hasn't had the biggest red zone production that you would expect out of Ted or Owen McMillan, but that rushing offense has been huge for the Panthers, so that's why you haven't really seen that too much. But Denzel Boston's ability to catch contested catches is huge with a team like with Pittsburgh, who, maybe Rodgers stays there another year. He'd be great for his development. And I like Boston's usage of his leverage, and that's where I think that comes in handy for a team that is desperately needing a wide receiver too. Now at 21 here to the Bills. The defense is definitely the route I'm going to go. I'm actually going to go with an off-ball linebacker here, Sonny Styles from Ohio State. Now my thing with Sonny Styles is I love his pursuit. I love his skill set that aligns with, the trends of the off-ball linebackers in the league. However, my problem, as I have here, is his man-to-man skills is scary. There's a lot of teams putting linebackers in man coverage now. He's a good zone guy, I think. He could be a very good zone guy. But the man-to-man needs to improve for him to be able to, be an efficient starter in this league. The Bills' linebacking core is disgustingly bad, in my opinion. I don't like their linebacking core. I don't like their defensive interior. I like Deion Walker, but I don't like I don't like the depth. So Caleb Banks is a possibility here, but for now I'm going to go Sonny Styles. Now, Caleb Banks will be going off the board, though, to the Chicago Bears. They have Gervin Dexter Sr., but that's really, you could always use D-line depth. This is a team that I really do like their future. And Caleb Banks is a flashy player that has developmental possibilities, where he is a great pass rusher in the interior. You don't see very many pass rushing-oriented defensive tackles, like you do see in Caleb Banks. But that can be a little concerning for his underdeveloped running game, but I think he's a very flashy player and who can develop into a run guy. It's just, getting yourself a third down pass rushing defensive tackle like Caleb Banks could be a very good acquisition. Now, 23 to the Buccaneers. We're going to go with one of my favorite pass rushers, which is David Bailey. David Bailey let me tell you, his stats really show it. I think he has 12 sacks on the year right now. He is a great pass rusher, but his bend and his burst really just are excellent. He's an athletic freak. But my problem is his run game. He doesn't seem like very much of a 3-down guy right now. He seems like more of a situational guy, and that's something he'll need to work on if he wants to become an every down edge rusher. But getting pressure on the quarterback for a late first round pick, like a guy like David Bailey, is a great pick for Tampa and a team that needs the edge rusher improvement. So now 24 here to the Lions. We're gonna go with Avion Terrell from Clemson. He is the brother of A.J. Terrell. If you did not know, he has a very small frame, but regardless of that, he is willing to press and willing to challenge wide receivers. He is a trustworthy guy that if he misses his press, he's going to recover. And he's not afraid to come up and tackle, which I like. So he's got great recovery, he's got great speed, and he's not afraid to be physical. And that's what I think the Lions need, is that defensive back that maybe isn't too handsy like a Terrion Arnold, but is going to be, aggressive at the start, but then also be able to keep up. So that's why we'll go 24. Now 25 to the Cowboys. Now they find their edge rusher, and this time it's going to be Cassius Howell. Cassius Howell, I think, is another guy like David Bailey. A great pass rusher. His frame is a little bit of a concern. I think he's only around 240, which makes him very developmental. He's a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. Great first step, but he's a player that needs to develop a run defense. He will be a situational guy to start his career for sure. So the Cowboys need edge rushing. I mean, it's been pretty evident. They've got two really good defensive tackles, but you need edge rushing. Cassius Howell will be a great pass rusher for you if you can develop him. And so now we'll go to 26 to the Chargers. I think it's obvious. We all watched Sunday Night Football and saw all of those linemen's ranks. We're going to go with Vega. We're going to go with Vega Ioane, I think is how you say it, Ioane. And him at Penn State, I like him. I like him a lot. He has a high floor. I don't like sometimes how he can get up too early or he can lunge too early. That can kind of lead to him losing a pass block or losing a run block. But that's all fixable. He's played both guard positions, and the Chargers need an interior offensive lineman. Absolutely need an interior offensive lineman. He is your guy. I think he is a guy that's going to shoot into the late first round. A lot of people, I think, that I've seen think he'll be a second-round guy. I think he'll be a late first-round guy. So Vega Ioane will be the Chargers pick. Now at 27 to the Rams. I think the Rams also go offensive line. We're going to go to Jennings Dunker from Iowa. I think it really depends on where he is put to how he produces in the league. He's a very overwhelming power guy. He shoots his hands late sometimes. He's a little bit different than Vega. I think Vega shoots a little early sometimes. I think Dunker shoots a little late at times and kind of has a high pad level. But he's a very smart guy. He has a great football IQ, is able to diagnose blitzes, diagnose packages, and really use that to his benefit. And so I think the Rams could use the guy like him to move anywhere, maybe put him as a replacement for the long term in tackle, or move him into guard instantly, have him alongside like Steve Avila. I think Jennings Dunker is a great pick. And now 28 to the Patriots. We'll go with edge rusher here. I think that is a bit, a need, a developmental piece at pick 28, and R. Mason Thomas is great. I think a lot of these late first rounder edge rushers are going to be those pass rushing guys. R. Mason Thomas is another guy whose frame makes his every down ability a question mark. His run defense, I think, is pretty solid. It does need improvement if he wants to be able to anchor down in the NFL. But I like his aggressiveness, and I think if you get him to be stronger and anchor down more on runs, he'll be an every down guy. I am a little worried about his ankle injury history. That could be a little bit of a concern, but I think he's a great pass rusher where at the end of the first round, getting that fifth-year option on a guy like him is not a bad idea. So 29 here to the Eagles now. We'll go with a wide receiver. I think getting a guy like Casey Concepcion would be a good pickup for the Eagles. You say, well, they got A.J. Brown, they've got Devontae Smith. They're maybe not the biggest passing offense in the league. I think Concepcion is a good guy to have at wide receiver 3. I don't think he is that pure every single down, that pure outside guy, pure boundary wide receiver. He is a guy that's going to find soft spots, be your first down guy. I think Devontae Smith is your slot guy in Philly. I think A.J. Brown's your deep shot guy. And then I think Casey Concepcion can be your intermediate guy. I think he can be your guy that's best when he's building up his speed, when he's going 15, 20 yards down the field. And so that's where I think he fits perfectly in that wide receiver group for Philadelphia. Now, pick 30 to the Broncos here. I am going to go off-ball linebacker. I think this guy is going to be an underrated prospect throughout this draft process, which is Anthony Hill Jr. From Texas. As much as I don't like Texas, I love Anthony Hill Jr. He's a sideline-to-sideline player who has unbelievable range. I mean, he's a sideline-to-sideline player. And he can play very instinctual, and he has a lot of aggression. I've seen a lot of people say he plays with controlled violence, and that is something you love to see out of an off-ball linebacker. And so I think he'll translate really well. He is a very good three-phase linebacker, the pass, the run, the pass rush. And so he could really be a field general middle linebacker for a team, and I think that would help with a star-studded and a top defense, Broncos defense. Now at 31 to the Seahawks, we're going to go with corner. I think this team has not very many holes, but we're going to go with A.J. Harris from Penn State. I think A.J. Harris is a guy that is very physical. He's willing to come up for the run, which I really like. It's something that will make a defensive coordinator and make a guy like Mike McDonald very happy. If you want a guy that's going to challenge and press, this is your guy. And I think that's why he fits in well with a team like with Reek Woolen, Nick Emenwari, Devin Witherspoon. Like, he fits in well with this Seattle culture and Seattle defense, that I think that he's a good pick here at 31. And finally, at 32, for the Jets, we're going to go with Christian Miller. And Christian Miller, I think, is an unfinished product, but he's a dominant player. I think he's a guy you put at the nose at the one tech, and he holds his ground. He's physical. His stats might not show it, but he is a gifted player, and he is an impressive player. I think he's a perfect end of the first-round guy, and you need a replacement now that Quinnen Williams is gone. Christian Miller is your guy in that situation. So that'll be my final pick of the first round, and now we'll do it for actually round one, our very first mock draft. We'll take a look at these picks here, just showing it there. There's the bottom picks. Let me know what you think about your team. If you think there's some things that could be changed, some trades that will happen that I don't have talking about, some trades that, the trade that I made that won't happen. But I think this draft is going to be an exciting one with a lot of exciting players in it. The quarterback class is an interesting one as well. And we'll have to see how it, keeps developing as the college football season goes on and the NFL season goes on. But I hope you guys enjoyed this first mock draft of the 2026 NFL draft cycle. I sure as heck enjoyed it, and make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. As I said, comment down below. Hit the subscribe button if you're new or you keep coming back to my videos, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.